Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
Manoli Loupassi, welcome to the Center of the Universe.
It's good to be in the center of the universe.
You and I have not seen each other in...
35 to 40 years.
Is it that long? It has been that long.
Yeah, 38 years, probably.
I think you graduated high school in...
1985.
And we haven't seen each other since 1985.
Correct.
But we...
Probably.
We do know each other, though.
Yes.
From high school.
Did you go to VMI? Where'd you go?
I went to UVA.
Okay. I'm guessing I probably ran into you a couple times at UVA.
Probably.
But I'm guessing you and I, neither of us remember.
we may have enjoyed some refreshments on those occasions. I mean, why else would you go to another college?
Correct.
Yeah. And you went to Washington later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you and I knew each other in high school, and I'm guessing you wouldn't have a clue who I was except that we played football together.
No, I would remember you. You and I used to play pickup basketball a lot, too. So
that's
you had
right.
a pretty decent basketball game, if I remember.
That's right. I forgot we played a lot of pickup basketball. I love playing basketball outside.
Absolutely.
Oh, it was the best. You probably kept playing.
I played for another 20 years.
Yeah, so did I, and then I had to hang them up. Knees and hips and back. But you don't have that issue. You're probably perfect.
I got a new hip about a year ago.
Really?
Life-altering.
So good.
Oh, so good.
How did you know you needed to get it replaced? It just hurt all the time?
Yeah, I hurt all the time, and I couldn't golf. I couldn't, the things I couldn't do physically that were just, it was just really painful. So,
but now it's life-altering.
It was time. Oh yeah, unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it feels so good.
That's very cool. I appreciate you coming out to my place tonight. I guess we should mention that you're a lawyer. Should we start there? Or do you want to?
Sure, that's fine.
Why did you become a lawyer?
Happenstance. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was graduating from W&L. I told my dad, who was a Greek immigrant who ran a restaurant, who worked his whole life, probably 70 or 80 hours a week. I told my old man that I was going to go to Australia and New Zealand for a year. And I was going to play lacrosse and work as a bar back. And I think he put two and two together and figured that I was going to go chase some Australian ladies.
Australian women love American.
And he said, that sounds like a great plan. How do you plan on getting to Australia? And when you come back, how do you plan on paying for law school? I'm going to get back to you on this plan. I'm not sure I thought I was still on the payroll, but maybe I need to rethink this thing. So I continued to try to get into law school just because I was trying to put off becoming an adult, I think, more than anything. And I got into Ole Miss Law School, so I went to Ole Miss for a year, and then I transferred to the University of Richmond.
So the idea was go to law school to put off being an adult right away?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I didn't, I knew, I didn't want to be Willie Loman. That I knew. I just didn't want to be women. They should never have kids read. I mean, because life is all about sales.
Right.
Everything you do.
Everything
you do, you have to be a salesman. And so to make that look so bad and so sad.
We've read it at St. Christopher's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were probably...
I mean, I didn't read many books, but I remember that one. For some reason, that one stood out in my mind. I'm like, well, I know one damn thing. I don't want to be a salesman.
Door-to-door shoe salesman at that.
Yeah.
But sales in general, yeah, I'm with you. All right, so let's talk about your dad for a second. He passed away fairly recently.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah. And I remember you thought very, very fondly of your dad and obviously loved him like a son should, but you had, I think, an even more special relationship with your dad. It's kind of the impression I have.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time together, and I pretty much listened to what he had to say and respected what he had to say. He'd accomplished so much. He came from another country, couldn't speak English. He was a very successful businessman, and I've always kind of relied on people and observed people that I felt like were successful, and I thought, well, that's a good person to emulate and also a good person to listen to. And so when he, made suggestions to me or told me to do things, I pretty much did what he told me to do.
Yeah, it sounds like he earned your respect.
Yeah, I mean, he knew what he was. He was a very, very smart person.
How did he end up coming to America in the first place, and then why Richmond? Did he ever tell you?
Yeah. So he was working on an oil tanker. His father was executed by the Nazis.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So his father had been executed by the Nazis. So it was his mom and two sisters. They were dirt poor, and he was in a war-ravaged nation that had been basically destroyed. Europe was destroyed by war, and then they had probably about 10 to 12 years of a civil war in Greece, and so that was his formative years. And he was just like, man, I got to get the hell out of here. I'll never be able to make it. There's no mobility. There's no opportunity. I got to get out of here. So he got his seaman papers straight, and the first oil tanker he could get on after he turned 18, he got on. And the guy said, well, the only thing we've got is, wiping down the engines in the bowels of this ship.
Worst job on the ship.
The worst job on the ship. He's like, I'll take it. And he just got out of there, worked himself up to the bridge where the captain was and all. And he did that for like 3 years. He sailed all over the world. It was an oil tanker. They were in the Persian Gulf. They were in the Indian Ocean. They were in the Suez Canal. They were all over the world. And I think it started wearing on him. It's a rough life. He was docked in Wilmington, Delaware. He got a bus to Charleston, West Virginia, which is where his uncle was. And he got a job in a coal mine. And he worked in a coal mine for a little bit, for like 6 months. And he knew that wasn't going to be, because back then the coal mining, you basically crawled in holes that were 18 inches tall and maybe 30 inches wide. So it was like you crawl down in the hole, you chip all day, and then you crawl out of the hole. He's like, I'm not thinking this is really a good long-term thing. So he's trying to get the hell out of there.
He found the one job clearly worse than being in the engine room of an oil rig.
Yeah, exactly. So he's like, okay, I got to get the hell out of here. And back then, this was the late 50s. You could go to different places, and Greek restaurateurs would take new Greeks to town and let them work as dishwashers or let them work. So there's usually some way to get a job by word of mouth through the Greek community. So he knew there were two places he could go work. One was in New York, and one was here in Richmond. And he was sitting in Charleston in a diner with a friend, and they were talking in Greek. And one of them, they must have said Richmond or something. And a gentleman who was in the booth, maybe across the way, came over and said to the guy that my dad was talking to, you just said Richmond. That's where I'm from. And he explained to him, well, he needs a ride. And so the guy was a Richmond police officer, Richmond City police officer. And he said, well, I'll give him a ride if he wants to go back to Richmond. And the trip to Richmond, the guy was going to leave on Thursday, and my dad couldn't get a ride to New York until Saturday. He was like, well, hell, Thursday's better than Saturday. I'm out of here.
It came down to a ride.
That's it. That's how he ended up in Richmond. Exactly. And then, he got here. He worked as a dishwasher for a bit. He worked as, restaurant manager for maybe 6 months. Within a year, at the age of 20, he had bought his first restaurant. Went out of business, but learned a lot. Wrote his own contract. I still got the contract. He somehow knew he learned English.
Wow.
At the same time, he's going to VCU a little bit, and he's running a restaurant, and one thing led to another, and then he ended up on Park Avenue, and that's where he was, on Robinson Street and Park Avenue at the Robin Inn, and he was there from 1963 until he retired.
I was going to say, all of this sounds like it transpired from late 50s, early 60s kind of thing.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow. That's nuts.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about where you came from and where you ended up, and then he had a son, obviously who was in vice mayor in the city prosecutor, former, member of the House of Delegates. I mean, it's just amazing that can happen.
In one generation like that.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
insane.
your dad did not speak English.
Did not speak English.
As a kid.
Correct. That shows you how great a country it is.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you, this is what people don't understand. People are dying to get here. I mean, they say we have a border problem. Yeah, we do have a border problem, but there's a reason we have a border problem. Those people are not coming here because they want something for free. They're coming here to work, man.
Yeah, big time.
They want to work. And they want to make it, but they want an opportunity. They don't have an opportunity where they are. They don't have the rule of law. They don't have they don't have the mechanisms that we have here, the system that we have here for the production of wealth. And that's what the people who are here don't seem to understand and appreciate. I mean,
it's weird. It's really weird.
It's bizarre to me. Quit complaining and start working.
Yeah.
Just you can make it. You just got to work. People in this country respect it and love workers, and they hate laziness.
I think people are getting softer, man. I hate to sound like an old guy. I sound
I know. We really are.
I sound like I'm 80, but I mean, get to work. Stop talking. Get to work.
Yeah.
Well, all right, so how old were you when you knew your dad's story? Were you
from?
So you knew all
He
along.
couldn't. Yeah, I mean, he speak broken English. I mean, how's all this happen? You learn that immediately.
And so you were pretty inquisitive as a son. You wanted to know your dad's story.
You're gonna get it whether you want to know it. I mean, you're gonna get the stories. They're coming.
Yeah, because you're his son. He was going to tell you.
Yeah. They, I'm sure my son just rolls his eyes like, oh, here we go again. This story for the 5 millionth time. Really? Okay.
But they're powerful stories, and your son will love them as he gets older.
I think so. Yeah.
He'll adore them.
I think so.
Yeah, and he'll listen to this either in a couple of weeks or maybe 10 years from now.
Well, he's very busy. He's very busy.
We'll talk about your family in a little bit. All right, so you were K through 12 at St. Christopher's?
No, I came in 6th grade.
Was that a weird transition for you?
I was a pizza boy when I came to take the test. I came in a 3-piece polyester suit with a really wide polyester tie.
Oh, do you have a picture?
I'm pretty sure there's somewhat, there's bound to be a picture somewhere, and so I would say, I got in, and then, that's a tough adjustment when you're coming from Northside Richmond, Chamberlain Elementary School, and then you're coming to that environment. It's and a lot of those kids have been together for 6 years.
Yeah.
I didn't live in the West End. I mean, I lived in Chamberlain Farms. I didn't have parents that were members of the country club. My dad was a pizza man.
So you lived in Henrico County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A Blue Star Highway, man.
Yeah.
301.
Not far from here, actually.
No.
Yeah.
No, not far.
Not far at all. I lived off of Wilkinson Road, actually.
Probably 6 miles. Yeah. That's where I grew up. Right there, Dirt Drive.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a good place to grow up.
Yeah. Yes.
But you weren't a West End kid. A lot of those kids, when you and I, because I went there in 8th grade, 4 years after you started in 6th grade, and a lot of those kids was within 5 miles of the school, right?
Yeah, maybe closer.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3.
We were lucky, though. You and I were lucky in that we were athletes, and so that enabled you to blend in much more quickly.
Yeah, we were accepted faster than we would have been otherwise.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't a great athlete, but I was good enough to be, good enough to be.
Good enough to be accepted fast.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any fond memories of teachers from middle school?
Interestingly enough, I was thinking about the other day. So I was standing, I'm on the board at St. Christopher's.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
And so we were doing
you and McCoy and Dunstan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were doing a tour of the different things that they're redoing there, and one of them is the middle school library. Standing outside on the porch, there's a back door. I don't think I ever went through it when we were there, but anyway, there's a little porch, and I think they're going to make a nicer porch out there with some tables and chairs for kids to sit, and it's going to be nice. And so we're looking at it, and the the headmaster and I are standing outside, Mason Leckie, and we're chit-chatting, and he was telling me about it. And I looked up, and I saw the tree, and it was the same damn tree. And I looked at him, I said, "You see that tree right there?" And he said, yeah, I see that. I see it. I said, that's where I got cut from 8th grade basketball.
Why was it there?
And
Why were you cut?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, that's where I got cut. And he looked at me, he goes, "Dude, that was like 45 years ago.
It doesn't matter.
And you still remember that?" I'm like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is I didn't like it at the time. He kept 18 players. I was a good basketball player.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He kept 18 players, and I wasn't one of the top 18. Now, was I top 5? No. Maybe top 8. But it taught me a very valuable lesson extremely early. And you didn't have to say it. What was said was you weren't good enough to make it. But what he really was saying is, you aren't playing by my rules, and you're not 1 or 2. If you're 1 or 2, in other words, if you're the leading scorer, the leading rebounder, then you're not expendable. You are not expendable.
Yeah.
But if you're not one of the top 2, then you're just like everything else. Yeah. You're expendable. And so you have to learn how to fit into the operation. And then if you fit into the operation, maybe I'll let you play some more. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
So I could have either taken it laying down and just said, well, he's a jerk and he didn't know what he was doing, and just quit, or take it as a learning lesson and be like, okay, I get it.
That's pretty mature of you as an 8th grader.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Just something hit me in the head. And I was like, it's not him, it's me.
It takes some people a lifetime to figure that out.
Yeah. You got to do it quick. And so the next year I started. So obviously I was good enough.
Yeah.
I didn't get that much better in 1 year. I started in 9th grade.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I learned. And so anyway, so the teacher that did it, we ended up becoming pretty good friends later in life after I'd graduated from high school and was playing basketball outside at St. Christian's. I played with him all the time. And after that, we would play lacrosse together for years. And I was the captain of my lacrosse team, in the summer league, and I would always get him to play with us. And anyway, I just want to show him that I learned the lesson about teamwork and about, how to function in a team setting.
Can you say his name?
Yeah, Andy Smith. He knows.
Oh, Andy's been on this.
No way.
Yes.
He's unbelievable.
He sat where you did.
For like 60 years or something insane.
He just retired. Yeah.
Amazing person.
I'm a huge fan of Andy Smith.
Absolutely. Yeah, amazing person. And, you learn these lessons. That's the thing. I sent him, when I heard he was retiring, I sent him a note, and I just said, you really don't know when you're doing that job how you affect people and in the ways that you do. But that's something that there aren't many jobs that you have in a life that you can do that can affect so many people in ways that you don't even appreciate or understand. I mean, this was 8th grade. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it has permanent effects on people and how they live their lives. And that was just a very good learning experience for me.
Yeah.
You learn by failing.
What's funny about him coaching basketball is he said he never played basketball growing up. He was a soccer and lacrosse guy.
Yeah. I think he played lacrosse in college.
At Johns Hopkins, maybe?
Is that, yeah.
Or soccer. I think he played soccer at Johns Hopkins.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least that's what he said on the recording.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, makes sense.
Yeah, no, I remember
they're the same games. Basketball, soccer,
they're all the same.
And lacrosse are the same. I watched so much soccer the last few years. Manoli's been playing for years now, and it's the same game.
Yeah,
lacrosse, same thing. And so they're very complementary, especially if you play one, you can play well the others.
Constant motion too, which is to watch it or to play it. It's fun to watch or play. I think all three of those sports.
Yeah.
What about Bob Blanton? I have to ask everybody that went through.
So I saw him. I hadn't seen him in years, and I saw him. Manoli just graduated.
Yeah.
And I saw him, and he looks the same. It's unbelievable. I told him, you're the man that doesn't age.
He's got to be in his mid-70s by now, right?
Gotta be. Oh, I was so terrified of him when he was my teacher.
Yeah.
Latin teacher. Oh, my God. He was so scary.
Did you ever see him? Did you ever see him throw anybody out the window?
Maybe Danny Yu. I can't remember. You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure he did that for effect. I mean, he just having fun. You know, I know he used people as erasers. I remember that. You know, I remember he grabbed.
You got to be pretty strong, even for an 8th grade kid to be used, or a 7th grade kid to be used as an eraser.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He would dangle people by one leg over that thing. I mean, you'd get fired now for doing the stuff they did. Him and Ackerman and all those guys.
Oh my gosh,
crazy times.
Super, but they were charismatic.
Absolutely.
They were
I loved Ackerman.
Oh, Ackerman was amazing.
Yeah, we had some really neat teachers.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, and that's part of the experience. That's part of what the parents are paying for, I think.
Absolutely.
Is to run into those characters. Mm-hmm. And I say characters in the best way possible.
Correct.
All right, cool. So, St. Christopher's, you were an athlete. You were also a pretty good student, right? You don't go to W&L and then law school without being a pretty good student.
I was not a very good student, to be honest.
Really?
No. I was okay. But, you know, I was in all the Midland classes and I did okay in math. English was a challenge for me. And I did okay in history. I mean, I had 2.7, 2.8, something like that. I don't think I ever made Dean's List. I don't think I ever made the Dean's List.
W&L?
Only in law school and college.
I thought W&L was a pretty tough school to get into even back then.
Yeah, my years of first year was co-ed. And I just had things kind of lined up for me. You know, I wrestled. I had a pretty good wrestling run there at St. Christopher's, and so that helped quite a bit.
Did you wrestle in college?
Oh yeah, I wrestled all 4 years.
Oh, I didn't realize you wrestled.
I was the captain of the wrestling team.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
At W&L?
At W&L, I was yes. I wrestled all 4 years, and I was captain.
What was your weight class your senior
I
year?
wrestled 190 for 3 years. Okay. My senior year, I went down from about 225 to 177. I wrestled 177. Yeah, 50 pounds.
I gained a lot of weight freshman year to senior year.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, no, I ended up losing. I went, you know, man, I went the opposite way. And my grades went the opposite way. You know, I mean, my grades from high school to college to law school were completely different. Each, you know.
You're maturing.
Yeah. I mean, I just learned to, you know, what to do. And I just, you know, started making, you know, that was one thing about St. Christopher's. You really don't appreciate how smart you are while you're there. Mm. Because you're surrounded by so many smart people.
Yeah.
And so it's like gives you a really jaded, I mean, I thought I was a complete dummy. You know, when I was at St. Christopher, I did not feel, you know, like I was smart. And then when I went to W&L, where ostensibly I was supposed to be surrounded by brilliant people, and I was like, these people are nothing. Dude, give me Will Nelson, give me Barry Disney, Jason Easter. I'm like, there's just their next level intellects. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Your class in particular.
Carl Martin. Yeah, I mean, we had like 9 National Merit Scholarship finalists out of 70 people.
That's crazy.
It's insane. I mean, literally, we have rocket scientists that I graduate with that when I see them and I ask them what they do, they're like, it's just very complicated. Don't worry about it. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right.
You couldn't handle it.
I'm one of the dumb ones. I can't handle it.
But that, I mean,
it's true.
Your class was ridiculous.
Yeah, and I went to W&L. I was like, well, I was expecting to be surrounded by all these smart people. I'm like, well, if I read the books, I can crush these people. And then, you know, and that's the way I was in law school. At law school, they try to act like, hey, you're only one of the top 5% of all people because we let you in here. And then you go there and you're like, well, this is the top 5. I'm going to crush it in life.
Yeah.
You know?
Humanity hasn't set the bar that high. This is the top 5.
You know, we got friends that went to law school and ended up being number 1 in their law school class, and they were probably middling at St. Christopher's.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It says something about applying yourself and working your ass off.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. I mean, you learn it at different times. If you learn it, then you can be successful. Because
I forgot you wrestled. I actually saw every time we wrestled collegiate, I would go to those matches, and I now distinctly remember you.
You had some good ones against them.
Yeah, well, so we can talk about it, high school and college, but I'm curious, why did you get into wrestling? Because wrestling's not for everybody.
Yeah, so I was playing basketball, and I went out for JV basketball, made the team, and Coach Kemper called me up and said, well, Manoli, you made the team. You know, I think you'd be better off going and wrestling and getting yourself in shape for football.
Because he was a football coach.
He was the head football coach.
Yeah.
And he knew I was going to be a good offensive lineman probably for him. So he was like, why don't you go over there and that'll make you bigger and stronger. And I was like, yes, sir. And that's what I did. I mean, you know, that's the thing. You know, some people would not, I listen to authority typically.
Yeah.
Like I would have died in 9/11 because if the police or someone told me to go back up, go to work, we got it all under control, I'd have gone right back up to my desk and come down. And so when he said, you know, go wrestle, I was like, yes, sir. I mean, wrestling is so brutal.
It's really
so brutal. It's so brutal.
Losing weight and then
that's the least of it. I mean, going and getting in a singlet and fighting a man to the death in a circle in front of a bunch of people.
It's
Lake Taylor said that to me. He's like, you know, Loop, let me tell you something. If you can get in a ring and fight someone to the death in a singlet in front of a bunch of people, in a singlet in front of a bunch of people, there really aren't many things in life that should scare you or that you can't do. And it's true. I mean, it's totally true. It's a great preparation for life.
Lake's 3 years younger than you, I think. He's 3 years behind you. Yeah, but he was wrestling on varsity.
8th grade.
8th grade.
I was a senior.
What makes somebody really good at wrestling like Lake and you were?
I mean, he was a next level wrestler. I mean, I was never as good as he was. He was really good. I mean, he was a 2 or 3 time state champion. I mean, he was a very, very excellent high school wrestler. I think what makes people good wrestlers are discipline and hard work and sacrifice. And then you have to have good balance and you have to be strong. Like my friend Jim McVeigh, he was just like ridiculously strong person.
But he wasn't big. He wasn't huge.
No, he played nose guard like 160 pounds.
He was fairly tall. I mean, he was tallish.
No, he's a big man now, but I mean, he was a 165-pound person is what he was. But he was just extremely strong, just an extremely strong. He's one of the strongest people I've run up against, and I wrestled in college. I mean, I wrestled a guy who was an All-American. That guy was the strongest. Jim's probably number 2.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just someone who's just.
Did Jim wrestle in college?
No, he should. He would have, could have, should have.
Yeah, if he's that strong.
He would have been. Yeah, his knees were bothering him, and I think he just worn out of wrestling. But he was a good wrestler, good high school wrestler.
My recollection of him was he was a very, very nice guy too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Your class, besides having like really, really smart people, like an unusually high percentage of smart people, all of you seem to play football too. There were a lot of you that played football.
Yeah.
And hit hard. And so me being a sophomore on the team, you guys were brutal. I should have probably quit playing football after you guys would beat me up at 2-a-days for practice. Or am I misremembering?
No. I think, it's hard because you're going against people 2 years older than you. So that
two more years into puberty.
Yeah. I mean, but we did. We had a heavily senior laden football class. We had a lot of football players in the class.
How many times did you beat collegiate?
In football varsity?
Yeah.
One time.
Me too. And we got to
my
share
senior
that.
year.
We got to share that.
Yeah, and then you did it your sophomore year.
Yeah. Yeah, and didn't do it again.
So much of it was dependent upon the line, and we had a really good line my senior year.
Yeah. Well, it was all seniors except for maybe one guy, I think.
Right. Well, and then I came back. See, I missed the whole season with what was that? The mononucleosis.
Yeah.
So I came back for the collegiate game. That's the only game. I played 3 games that season.
That's mono must have kicked your rear end.
Oh yeah, knocked me down.
Yeah. Well, we weren't as good, because you would have been the 4th senior on the line if you played all, and we had David Blue at 315 pounds or whatever he was at left tackle.
Right.
Yeah, that line was the reason that team was any good.
Yep.
At least I would make that argument.
I think that's true.
Yeah. All right. Good times. Fond memories for both of us. Beating collegiate. I had Robert Pratt in here. because he coached us. No, you missed him. My senior year, Robert Pratt was an assistant coach.
Really?
Yeah, it was really cool. But he was sitting here and he said, all I cared about was beating those damn Cougars.
15. He played professional football for probably 12 to 15
It
years.
was like 12 or 13, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and then as soon as he...
Little guy. I mean, probably weighs 240, maybe 250 now.
Yeah.
At best.
But he's in fantastic shape for a guy his age, too.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably close to 70.
I think he is 70.
Yeah. He was an incredible high school athlete.
Oh, he was ridiculous. He scored like 20 touchdowns in a 8 or 9 game season.
Yeah.
His senior year.
Huh.
He played tackle at UNC. Yeah. He's a good dude. He's funny, too.
Oh, yeah, he's great. He used to come back when he was still playing professionally, and he would do the career days. And that was, everybody wanted to be a professional football player.
Why wouldn't you?
Right. Everybody was in that. And he was amazing then. I mean, he was just great.
He would do camps, right? He would He'd bring other NFL guys back.
Yeah, we had Burt Jones. Burt Jones came for 2 years to St. Christopher's for the camp, and a bunch of the Baltimore Colts that he played with were at those camps.
He's still best friends with Burt to this day.
Well, Burt Jones was an amazing personality, and he was awesome. I mean, I remember him.
Yeah, because you went to that camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just a really funny, fun-loving guy, and he was a great quarterback. I mean, he was probably I'm pretty sure he was a Pro Bowler for a couple of years there.
Yeah, Robert told me that Burt's dad actually, through Burt's retirement football, actually had the record for most touchdowns in a game, and his dad was a receiver. Think about when Burt Jones' dad would be playing in the NFL.
In the 40s.
And he had 6 receiving touchdowns.
Well, yeah, they weren't throwing much then.
They were that game, apparently, but yeah.
He had one game?
In one game, 6 touchdowns in one game, yeah.
In a professional football game?
That's what Robert told me. I got to look it up.
I believe it.
I need to fact check him, maybe. Yeah. All right, so why would you want to wrestle in college? When I was in college, I wanted to do a lot of other things than playing sports is fun. Team, especially, the individual aspect of wrestling never appealed to me. What was it about wrestling that kept you going through college?
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, I like individual sports because there's no politics. I mean, you kick that guy's hiney and you start.
Yeah.
There's no politics in that. You can't, nobody can put the finger on the scale. No one can say, well, I just don't like you. You beat that guy's hiney and you're starter.
Yeah.
So I like that. But the main reason why I did it was because my dad said I should do it. And I just kind of felt like he was probably right. He said it'll be good for you physically and it'll keep you out of a little bit of trouble. And he was
right. Yeah.
Absolutely correct. So I've been on my kids since day one that you absolutely play a sport in college. That should be what you do. When you go to college, you play a sport. And because basically, if you're capable. I mean, not everybody's capable.
I mean, the school you want to go to has a wonderful biology program because you want to be the next great biologist, and it happens to be at a large school with a really good football or basketball or wrestling or whatever.
Then you're just doing biology. I get that.
Yeah,
That's right. But sports, to the extent you can play them, they teach you so much about what it takes to be successful in life. Discipline, teamwork, experiencing the thrill of winning after you've put in a lot of effort, dealing with your losses.
Yeah, figuring out how to get better from the losses.
Yeah, and just figuring out how to deal with loss because you're going to lose. You're not always going to win.
It's part of life.
It's part of life, so you need to learn how to lose. And so it just teaches leadership, teaches how to get other people motivated to do things they don't want to do. And you have to be able to manipulate people in that way if you want to be successful leading an organization and so you figure out teaches you those skill sets, how to do that. So just on so many levels, it's a great it's a great trainer for future endeavors.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. I did not play in college. I almost went to W&L, and I maybe would have played there, but not a place like UVA. UVA was a different animal.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I could have been the 7th-string tackling dummy or something for the football team, maybe, if I was lucky. All right, so you go to Ole Miss. Why Ole Miss?
The only law school I could get into.
Really?
Yeah.
How many did you apply to?
I applied to 4, and U of R is my backup. The number of applicants to law schools back then, LA Law got really hot. So the number.
You're talking about the show.
Yeah. And so what happened was everybody wanted to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
So the number of applicants doubled. So the year before,
if you became a lawyer, you'd be good looking, you'd make a bunch of money.
Exactly.
You'd have a tremendous sex appeal.
Exactly. And so the number of applicants for law school doubled. So
that's crazy.
Doubled. The year before, if you had my grade point average and my LSAT, 100% of all the applicants got into Richmond. So Richmond was my backup. I applied to W&L, probably William & Mary, George Mason, and Richmond was my backup. So those are my 4. I didn't get in anywhere. And a buddy of mine was similarly situated, and he was from Martinsville. He went to W&L with me, and he's like, well, I applied to Ole Miss. There's a lot of pretty girls down there. It's in the SEC. It's a good law school. John Gresham went there. So that's where I'm heading. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Well, I went and got an application.
Wasn't too late.
No. Filled it out. Sent them in with my transcript. 2 weeks later, they accepted me. That's where I went.
Wow.
Yeah. The next year, I got into W&L and William & Mary and Richmond and decided to go to Richmond.
Why'd you
I
choose
did really well in law school.
your first year especially to get into those 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did really well.
Why Richmond? Sorry.
I did well in law school, period.
Yeah, all 3 years.
Yeah.
Why'd you choose Richmond?
My dad's like, just live in Richmond. You can live in one of my apartments. You make connections here. We know people here. And, just no sense in.
Yeah, the network's pretty powerful, I imagine. Living in Richmond, being a U of R.
Yeah, it was more convenient. He was right. I mean, that was a good call.
Yeah.
It worked out fine.
Yeah, I don't know that you would have had a necessarily massively different experience at the other 2 law schools. And you already knew Lexington, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
But you also knew Richmond.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It worked out fine.
But you enjoyed it, sounds like you.
Yeah. Yes. I had 2 years there.
At what point did you know, like, I really am glad I made this decision because I desperately want to be a lawyer? Did you ever have that moment?
I was clerking for a judge in Manchester courthouse. And it was my first day on the job. And he had a jury trial where a 16-year-old boy had shot a Korean store owner in the face.
It was your first day?
First day. It was the most unbelievable thing I'd ever seen. I never even heard of anything like this. It never even dawned me. Come on, man. You're out here in Hanover. Y'all don't have any crime.
Nope.
You don't even know what crime is.
It's one of the reasons I live here.
I lived in Richmond, but, there's books that are written about it. I think that somebody wrote a book like 10 miles apart or something, or 5 miles apart or something. Anyway, bottom line is there are places in Richmond that exist that I didn't know existed. There were lifestyles that existed that you only kind of peripherally know are even there. They're never part of like your daily existence. And so it's not until you see how these things can all fit together that it dawns on you it's a big world out there, and not everybody's nice. There's some, and not everybody's living in great places. It's an eye-opening experience being in that environment, seeing that for the first time. It was shocking to me.
And you were clerking after law school or after law school?
Right after law school.
Yeah.
And it was a trial clerk, and it was real life, man. It was in Manchester. It was Manchester at that time. It's one of the worst neighborhoods in the country.
Yeah.
And It's gotten quite a bit better now, but back then it was rough. I mean, the year before I got there was a dead man on the courthouse lawn, and the police station was across the street. I mean, it was rough, man. I mean,
So you graduated law school in '92.
that's right.
So in early '90s.
This is 1993.
Yeah, Richmond in the early '90s, and
One of the roughest places in the country.
I mean, I think we were the
1997, we had 157 or 167 homicides.
per capita. That's
Insane.
like top 3 in the country.
Yeah,
sort
better
of
than
stuff.
New Orleans.
Yeah,
or worse.
Worse in this case. Yeah,
It was rough.
Nobody wants to be number one for the.
I've been prosecuting for 3 or 4 years, and I prosecuted a double homicide jury. I mean, you get the great place to
cut your teeth.
cut your teeth. Yeah, I mean, I probably did close to 30 or 40 jury trials.
So you clerked for a while, and then you
Became a prosecutor.
okay. And how do you become a prosecutor?
Well, the chief prosecutor's got to give you a job.
So you're basically interviewing for that job.
Interviewing for that job. And, you got to kind of, like everything else, you got to get to know people, and then they got to get to know you. And then if they know you and they like you, you can do that through internships. You can do that, different ways. But bottom line is you got to figure out a way to get in. And once you get in, you need to do a good job.
You need to get along with people, too, and show that you can get along. I imagine, I'm trying to tie it back to the 8th grade basketball.
Yeah, I mean, we in that first prosecutor's office I had, people talk about diversity and inclusion and all that. I mean, we were half and half, half black, half white, a couple of Asians, and, we worked together.
Yeah, you made it happen.
Yeah, and we laughed, we had good times. Just living together.
And the son of a Greek immigrant.
Some of a Greek immigrant. Just, living the dream.
How long did you prosecute?
From 1994 till 2000.
Okay.
6 years.
Was that tiring?
I prosecuted out in Hanover for 6 months.
How did you do that?
Well, I got a job. Eddie R. Vaughn Jr. was the chief prosecutor, and I worked out here for 6 months.
After you had
Prosecuted in the city.
Okay.
Came out here for 6 months, and then went back to the city.
Because you fell asleep in those 6 months that you were out here in Hanover County.
Yeah, it just didn't work out.
It sounds like some personality stuff that we don't talk about.
Yes, just all kinds of stuff.
But you prosecuted for a while. Was that gruesome or grueling? Grueling's maybe the better word. Was it grueling?
The last year that I prosecuted, I was special counsel for a multi-jurisdictional grand jury, which investigates cross-jurisdictional narcotics conspiracies and political corruption. And, when you're a prosecutor and you're just doing the day-to-day stuff, it can be fun because you wrap yourself in the American flag, you're doing the Lord's work, you're putting the bad guys in jail, you get to work with the police, it can be interesting. So that part of it was fun. It's not, it's not great pay. But when I got that job with the multi-jurisdictional grand jury, it was an investigative grand jury, and that's a little bit different. And so what happens is it's like you become more of almost like more of a police officer and less of a just sort of grinding out prosecutor, because you have to individually shake down people in a grand jury setting. You threaten them with different mechanisms for punishment if they don't cooperate during the course of your investigation. There were times too where, I was 28 years old and people's names would pop up.
Yeah,
you
sure.
Knew
Yeah.
from being Richmond all your life. And you're like, whoa, okay. And you're sworn to secrecy, so it's never coming out of your mouth. But it's like, okay, this is weird. So I think it starts to play with you a little bit personally, because unless you knew what I was up to, you would never know. The average human being would not even have any idea what I was doing. But you don't, when you're doing it, you don't know or you don't appreciate that the average person doesn't have any idea. And so it's like I felt less comfortable. Like I at that point I wasn't married and I was out and about, and I felt like I felt a little bit uncomfortable when I was out and about because I was thinking people were thinking that maybe I was investigating, right. Which they would have no idea that I was what I was up to. But in my mind, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just that was a weird experience.
Did that lead you away from the prosecution?
No, because I ran for Richmond City Council, so it's just a natural progression.
So, what turned you to politics?
I had it was weird. I was never involved in anything at school.
Yeah, I don't remember you.
No, I never. No, I wouldn't have run for anything. But I had one experience when I was at Ole Miss. A lady I was dating talked me into running for honor council, and I ended up winning. It's like, well, that's weird. I wouldn't have thought that.
Did you run a campaign?
No. I just put my name in that, and they all voted for me. I guess because I was a really good student. They're like, well, he's smart. He gets the job. And that's what we used to do at Tinker. So he's the real smart guy. Give it to him.
Oh, all the smart guys, yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess they thought I was smart, and they gave it to me. I don't know how it worked. But anyway, I got the votes. Like, wow, this is pretty cool. I didn't realize people would vote for me. I like winning. It's like sports. So
yeah, except it's also a popularity contest, sort of. You tell me. You were the politician.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so anyway, I mean, it's sales. It's basically sales. Come back to sales.
Yeah.
And but I was clerking for that judge. A guy was running for Commonwealth's attorney. I got to know him pretty well because I helped him with this campaign. I did a lot of stuff to help him with the campaign. So then I was like, well, I need a job. I begged him for a job. He's like, well, I love you. You're great. So you'd be a great prosecutor. He hired me. So I worked for him. So I was like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. I liked the whole idea of running for something. And then I got involved in a couple campaigns, like Panty Roads. I got that through Tom, just because it was Tom's mama.
Yeah.
So, but I helped her out a bit. And then...
Great lady, by the way.
Yeah. And I was with her. We were having lunch one day, and at the Commonwealth Club, she and I were meeting for something. And someone came up to me while we were walking to our seat and was like, Luke, when are you running for something? So then we sat down. She's like, why are we meeting? I said, well, because that happens to me more often than you would think.
Huh.
And so I'm thinking about running for city council. I'd helped John Conrad, and he had indicated that he thought I would do a good job. And so, maybe you would consider running for this. So I felt like I had to start meeting people, and that just came up. So really, it was sort of like one of those things that I kind of evolved into it. It wasn't something that I ever thought when I was growing up or at any time. I was not a political animal. I wasn't like a Republican or a Democrat. I was sort of a middle-of-the-road type person.
Yeah.
And I've gotten more conservative as I've aged, which goes back to what Winston Churchill said. If you're young and you're not liberal, you don't have a heart. And if you're old and you're not conservative, you don't have a brain.
Yeah, he was right.
Yeah, exactly. So as I've aged, I've gotten a little bit more conservative. But that just kind of happened that way. It just sort of evolved that way. And one thing when I was doing that, I pretty much had made up my mind that my default position was that I was gonna just tell it like I thought it was. But what happens is the longer you're there, the less comfortable you feel that you can do that. Because it's not always black and white. There's so much gray in the world.
Yeah.
So you can't be so strident.
Right.
You can do it at interestingly enough, it's much easier to be strident when you're in local government because it's pretty much universal truths. We all want safer streets. We all want better schools. The only time there really is any kind of divide is when we're discussing how to make the schools better. But it doesn't get, politics didn't, it's a little bit more now in the local, but local government really, it's not a hotbed. Fix my damn pothole.
Right.
Okay. Don't crap away all my money. Okay? Keep my taxes low. Make my streets safe. And those are basic tenets that you can run on as a local official, city councilman or a board of supervisor. And the average person is like, you're damn right. I'm with you there. Where it gets more difficult is when every other conversation goes to abortion. And you're just like, and then you're pissing somebody off. There's just no way. There is no way around it. Okay. And so that's when you have to be really skilled. And, there are people that are skilled, really skilled, of figuring out how to manipulate their conversations in a way that you can never really hate them. Yeah. Like, I mean, the person that comes perfectly to my mind as I'm talking is like Tim Kaine. I mean, that dude,
Did you serve with him?
Yeah. He's brilliant. He's really smart.
That's the reason he's a U.S. Senator.
Yes, he's as smooth as they come. I mean, it's silk, man. And he's slick as soap. You can't catch him. I mean, he's going to figure out a way to, he'll be 4 steps ahead of you. You're not catching him.
So the political calculus that he was doing in his head is...
He's just a much more complex thinker, I think, than, he's an amazing, he'd be a great president. I don't like his politics. I'm not liberal. He's liberal. I think he's liberal. But he's not mean liberal. And he's also not crazy liberal.
He wants to be productive liberal, I think.
Yeah. Yes. And the other thing is he's honest. He's an honest person. And I think he's learned. So, he's thinking about things that we should be thinking about. He's thinking about, most recently he's been, working on this whole idea of just having a president declare war all the time without congressional approval. He's right. Whether it's a Democrat or Republican in office,
he's absolutely right. We
should want to have these checks and balances in place. It's the same thing. I bet you he would be, if you talk to him about sort of like, for lack of a better way to express it, Big Brother. The idea that everybody's all up in everybody's stuff and we should be scared of systems that monitor. I think he'd probably be 2 or 3 steps ahead of you and me in thinking about all that. Because I'm sure he thinks, I'm sure he's probably given that a lot. This is the kind of things that I think that he's a higher level thinker. Can you imagine him? Just stack them up. Biden or Tim Kaine?
It's Tim Kaine every time.
Dude, come on, man. It's a damn shame he ran as vice president. I'm glad he lost because I didn't like Hillary, but he would make God, they could do so much worse. I don't even understand why that someone wouldn't have begged him to do it. Why he's not doing it. Yeah. I don't understand. I understand because I don't want to do it, but he's in a position where he really could run and
he could be a unifying force.
Yeah. If we end up with Trump and Biden again, are you kidding me?
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
I love our Constitution, but how have we ended up in 2023 considering those two?
It's ridiculous.
I can't remember another time that was this ridiculous.
No.
For presidential level politics.
Yeah, it's completely insane.
All right, let's go back to you running for city council. It was an open, like it's an election, right? It's people from your part of the city,
yes,
voting for either you or somebody else.
Yeah, probably maybe close to 25,000 people live in a district.
And half of them vote for city council, maybe a little bit more?
I think the first time I ran, we had really low turnouts because it was a May election. They used to have them in May. The whole idea of having them in May is that you wouldn't get affected by, party politics.
Well, say more about that.
Well, you have them in May, they're not at the same time as House of Delegates and Senate races. They're not at the same time as gubernatorial or presidential races.
So they're low key.
So they're so the idea is that you're getting people there that aren't party people, but they're more tuned to local government and that kind of thing. So when I ran, I probably got 5,000 votes.
How'd you get the word out that you were even running?
I went and met with people for about 9 months, like basically just parents of friends. And then they would recommend that I go talk to 2 or 3 people. So I'd go talk to those 2 or 3 people. So I built up in a year, probably a list of about 150 people. And I sent them a letter and said, I'm running, please send me some money. And then a lot of them said, yeah, we'll support you. And they sent me money. And then that was how I got enough money to start doing mail pieces and pay for yard signs and all that kind of thing. It was sort of like you just have to, I was just really organized. And I ran the campaign. I had an elderly woman helping me a little bit, but mainly I learned from John Conrad how to do it. It wasn't that hard. You just got to, block and tackle.
Yeah. And stay to it.
Yeah, and methodically do it.
Yeah. Did you enjoy your time on city council?
I liked it. I didn't like the last 2 years. I was president of Richmond City Council, and we had, it was the first 2 years of Wilder's being there. And he was a very difficult person to deal with.
Really?
Oh, my God, it's miserable. Yeah, miserable. He was a very bad mayor, in my opinion. Still, he's always looking for a fight. He wasn't looking for solutions. He wasn't, he had everybody. Everybody would have worked with him. Everybody. I supported very strongly the whole creation of that mayor thing. When he ran, I came out strongly supporting him. And I was there to help get stuff done. I didn't want to be in all these little piddly fights all the time.
Yeah.
I wanted to see some stuff get done. We should have gotten rid of Gilpin Court. He had, at that time, they had the senators were kissing his ring. People running for governor were kissing his ring. Everybody was sucking up to him. All he had to do was just ask for help from the federal government, and people would have. People were trying to make him happy, but that's just not the way he operates. He likes conflict.
So you look for it.
Yeah,
or he created it.
Him and Goldman, they were just I love Paul Goldman, but he was just looking for, that was just his style. His style was to be a critic and that's fine. There comes a point in time, to get elected, you have to point out what's wrong. But then to do a good job, you have to figure out what to do is right. And you gotta, there's so much he could have accomplished with the power that he had, the everything that he had, and it was very frustrating to me. So I just stopped talking to him. Because I told him, he was laughing about it on my way out the door. He's like, Loop, I never see you anymore. I'm like, dude, when I'm in here, I feel like I have this target right here. If I don't see you, you forget about me. So I don't get the target. So I'm like, why would I come back? It's easier for me to just avoid you.
Yeah.
And he thought that was hilarious. But it was the truth.
Because he loved mixing it up so much. He goes, why wouldn't anybody want to mix it up?
Yeah, I don't like that. I didn't like that. So anyway, we just had a difference of opinion on how things should operate in a massive way. And so it was, that's why I was just like, dude, I'm out of here. I don't want to do this anymore. I'd rather not be involved.
Is that when you turned to state?
No, I just checked out.
Went back to lawyering.
Yeah, and then the House of Delegate thing came a year or two later.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did that for
10 years.
Oh wow, you did. What's the term for
2 years?
So you got elected 5 times.
4 or 5 times
as a delegate. It's pretty cool. I think. How many times did you lose? Out of all the times you ran, how many times did you lose? 1 time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last time.
What do you think it is about you that people wanted to vote for you? Or were your politics aligned with your district?
I think my politics align, and I think, I think more or less, I could identify with the common man. Just I felt like I could communicate well with just the average guy.
I mean, your dad had the second worst job on an oil rig to take the worst job in the U.S.
And, I grew up working as a dishwasher and, working behind the counter, waiting on tables, busboy. So I'd done that all my life. So I'd been in the public my whole life.
And it did something for you. You obviously kept coming back to it.
Yeah, I mean that last, I wasn't going to run that last time, and I gave it all I had, but it had become really joyless. Joyless.
Joyless. Yeah.
And so I was thinking, I'm out. I don't want to do it. I told my dad and mom. I told my wife that I don't think I'm gonna run again. And I let somebody talk me into it, and basically, it wasn't malicious, but it was just one of those things. They said. It kind of struck me. It was like, well, I once had told this person that to the extent that you have the ability to do these things to serve the people, you have an obligation to do it. And then I got it put on me, and I was like,
it's a guilt trip.
Yeah, but it wasn't like the person was trying to. I mean, it was just. Anyway, so I was like, okay, I'll do it one more time. I kind of thought, well, I'll do it one more time, and then I wish I'd stepped away, but I knew it was coming with Trump. I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I could see the writing. I started knocking on doors 10 months before my election because I knew it was coming. It didn't matter.
So you won a bunch in a row, and then you lost the last one.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, it's all right. You learn from losing, right?
It's fine. I got a lot more time now.
But, I mean, think about it. I mean, most politicians don't have a run like you had.
No, I had 17 years. It's fine.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
You won every election for 17 years.
Yes. Yeah. That's and that's plenty.
And never again.
Never again. Never.
So the guy who convinced you to run the last time, he won't be able to convince
I'm done,
you.
man. Stick a fork in me. I'm an old fat man. I got other things I want to do.
So what are you doing now?
Well, I'm practicing law. I'm going to do some criminal and traffic defense. I'm fixing to move my office to closer by where my my dad bought some property right there around the Robin Inn. So I got a lot going on there. So I really kind of would prefer being on site. So I'm in the process of trying to move my law office down there.
Okay. Well, off of Broad to down there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just easier.
Yeah, I think when you and I connected on the phone, you were actually painting.
Yeah, so I'm doing that. Yeah, I do painting, light plumbing. I go like the last week. I had to unclog the guy who does some maintenance work for me was out of town, so I was the maintenance guy, and I went and helped unclog a shower the other day.
Yeah.
So whatever it takes. All hands on deck.
Keeps you humble.
My dad, till the day he died, that's what he was working. I mean, he was going to work that morning. He's 84. Really? Yeah, he was getting ready to go to work. Going to take a shower, getting ready for work.
Wow.
So, but that's not a curse. That's a blessing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, dude, he had purpose. I mean, every day he had a load of keys in his pocket, and he was going to tend to his life. So it wasn't a curse. It was a blessing because it gave him something to do. His mind was working.
No, purpose is right.
Yeah, it's good to have purpose.
Yeah, got him out of bed every morning.
Yeah, every morning, early. He'd get his walk in and get going on the day. And, I mean, I think he enjoyed the interaction with the people that he had to interact with. And, I mean, he had joy in what he was doing. And work was part of why he came here.
Yes, he was a great model for you.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to go. I think I'd like to get out with my boots on.
Yeah. No, that's right. There are a lot of people I know that, I can't wait to retire and I can just play golf or do whatever. Dude. I'm like, dude, that's not purpose. You got to have something in your life that's getting you to either be better than you were the day before or help other people or whatever it is that gives you purpose. But
Correct.
You got to have something. Golf is not a purpose.
Yeah.
It's not even a sport, really, I would argue. But I digress. All right, so I'm going to ask you a weird question that's completely out of left field, but I ask most of my guests this. It's not meant to be hard, but it is meant to be a little more revealing about who you are. And you can say Winston Churchill is one of the answers, actually. All right, you're a talk show host, one time only. It could be a 2-hour, could be 1 hour. You can have some guests on. You get to pick all of them. They can be alive or dead. They can be related to you. They can be famous. The point of your talk show can be pure entertainment. It could be thought-provoking. It could be a mix of whatever you want it to be. You can have a male guest, a female guest, a musical act, and if you're into comedy, a comedian. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, but I mean, so basically, what you're saying is so,
and you're the host.
Right,
you're talking to him.
Yeah, Winston Churchill, Margaret Thatcher.
Okay, this is quick.
Winston Churchill, Margaret Thatcher, the Beatles.
Okay,
and Johnny Carson.
Nice. I love it. I love those answers. Now, tell me why.
And if it was a sports figure, Michael Jordan.
I agree. Michael Jordan's the best basketball player ever. No one will ever be better than him. At least not in our lifetime, I don't think. All right, so tell me why each of those.
But all right, so Winston Churchill, just the breadth of everything that he did, people don't understand. He was the highest, before he was ever anything in the government, he was the highest paid journalist in the world. People don't know that.
I had no idea.
He was the highest paid journalist in the world. Yeah, he was. They were paying him for reports from he obviously came back from the Boer War. He was a great warrior.
Right.
Became famous that way, but he was the highest paid journalist in the world. He wrote at the age in his 70s and 80s. He wrote the History of the English-speaking Peoples, which was a 7-volume set.
Seems like a daunting task.
Yeah, 7-volume set about the entire history of the English-speaking peoples. You know, everybody knows he was the head of every agency of government in the British government. And then he was done in 1919. It was over. He was never going to be anything but a backbencher, never going to be anything because of what happened when he was the head of the Admiralty. They had a really bad thing in World War I where a bunch of British were killed in the Dardanelles in Turkey.
And he was scapegoated.
He was scapegoated. Well, it was, yes, depending on the historian you read, but whatever, the buck stops with you. And he took the fall. He wasn't writing the history then.
Right.
Somebody else was writing the history, and he got laid down. And so for the longest period of time, he was in the wilderness. And it wasn't until the most dire point in the history of the British Empire that he was called back. And he led the country.
And he was the man. He was the man.
Unbelievable communicator. And like when you think about some of the things that he said and the way that he said it, his mastery of spoken and written word, English, was so incredible that it's almost incomprehensible. He was able to communicate in a way, and I mean, it was, and Roosevelt, he had some pretty good communications too. But this guy was head and shoulders just an amazing human being in the 20th century. We're now in the 21st century. So I would love to spend time with him. Margaret Thatcher, because she brought Britain back largely in a way. She was a woman that was way ahead of her time. I mean, there'd never been anybody like her, and she was obviously an amazing person from so many different respects. Very tough.
I was going to say strong-willed.
Yeah, very tough. Johnny Carson, just because
you'd love to talk to him, right?
Yeah, and man, God, wouldn't life be so much better if Johnny was still around?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, can you imagine him on late night with these dodo birds that are on late night?
He'd crush them.
Crush them.
Crush them.
Yeah, I mean, he was. I don't know if he was liberal or conservative. I don't know what he was. He was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and mainly because he communicated like an average person.
And he would allow his guests to be funny.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And the Beatles, just because they're the Beatles.
Well, the Beatles weren't. I mean, they had done their thing. They'd broken up by the time you were in middle school.
Yeah, I know, but just historically, that. I mean,
oh yeah,
they were.
They're the most prolific band.
Never been anything like that.
Yeah, they wrote 300 songs or something crazy in a relatively short period of time.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that because my middle kid is a Beatles person.
Okay, that's my lineup.
No, that's a solid lineup. I think a lot of people would tune into that. I think you'd be entertaining too as a host.
Not as good as you.
No,
You remember I had a sports call-in show?
No, you did not.
Yeah, on 910 WRNL, your news talking sports leader. The name of the show is Bring It On.
How long did you do that?
Bring it on. Bring it on. Come, bring it on down to the boys at Charlie's. Now let's go to Mac and Manoli, the M&M brothers, and bring it on.
So it sounds like an ensemble.
It was Mac and Manoli, the M&M brothers.
Who was Mac?
Mac Freeman. He runs, he's in Denver now. He runs Invesco Field.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's got a huge job. Yeah, he's an unbelievable guy.
Yeah.
He used to run the Richmond Coliseum for SMG.
Okay.
And then he had graduated from Hampton Sydney, and he and I were buddies back then. And he somehow or another finagled an hour of radio. And so
the two of
used
you.
to do it. Yeah, and it was a little bit he did it with Jay Ariano, and who was working at Channel 6 at the time, who was, and so, yeah, he was the straight man. I was the color. And we had a good time. We had a good time. We'd bring it.
Was it
Sports call-in.
Call in and you're just reacting to whatever the
Well, we would,
says.
We give information. It was at the same time period that Big Al Coleman got started.
Oh, yeah.
So we were
Yeah.
we were doing the same thing Big Al was doing. Big Al really put his life into it.
Yeah.
He went and got sponsors, advertisers. He's dedicated his life to local sports radio.
And it worked out for him.
It's fine. It's been awesome. Yeah. And he's, and Big Al's different. Big Al we were confrontational. We were sort of like, I can't use the phraseology on the mic, but, we were professional shit talkers. That's what we were. Okay. And so it was a different vibe.
Was it your idea or was it Mac's
No,
idea?
it was Max.
Yeah.
No, the idea of I'm giving you what I got. So this is what you're getting. If you're bringing it, we called it, he brought it Bring It On, which was good. And then I took that as like, okay, you're bringing it, I'm bringing it. And so let's see, see where we go from there. So it was, I thought it was fun. We had a good time.
And you went in studio every time. Right?
No, we did it from Charlie's Sports Bar.
Where was that?
So we have a couple of toddies and chat it up.
It's not a bad thing.
No, it was fine. Free beer and it was part of Charlie's Sports Bar.
Where was that?
It was right here in Stony Point Shopping Center.
Okay, yeah.
So we would go over there. Usually it was, I don't know, maybe Sunday afternoon. It was a witching hour, like maybe Sunday afternoon at 5:00 or something.
Okay.
So during the summer, it was not as fun because
sports in summer are brutal, and I'm guessing
already, already it's brutal. There's nothing going on. It's a lot of baseball, and then a little basketball. Things are different now. It's much more. ESPN was sort of not in its heyday, but was getting there.
Yeah.
That time period, 1994, 95. It's really getting there, actually. And so sports were a little bit more constant, like they are now.
Yeah.
We have so many sports options now that we didn't have 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
During the summer.
Yeah.
There's lacrosse, there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we were in high school, there were 5 spring sports, and now you probably play 10 sports.
Yeah.
Maybe 12.
But I'm talking about like just for watching and TV and everything.
Yeah.
It's just so much more. I mean, there's 3 or 4, maybe 5 permanent sports television channels. So it's ubiquitous. I mean, there's so much.
Ubiquitous is the right way to describe it.
You can find some sports to watch.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah, and we didn't have that.
No,
we still just had baseball.
And maybe a little bit of golf, maybe.
Yeah, baseball and golf. That's what you had.
Yeah.
In fact, we did a live feed from was it PJ McMoran? It was in New Orleans, English Turn. We got a live report from that tournament.
Pat O'Brien? No, you're talking about a tournament.
Yeah, PJ. It was the McMoran. It was at the English Turn in New Orleans. It was just a regular PGA event.
Okay. On
the tour back then, and we got a live report from there. One of my fraternity brothers gave us a live report.
Oh, so you had an accomplice effectively in New Orleans.
Yeah, I knew he was going to be there, so we got him call in for a live report.
Because everybody couldn't wait for that call.
Yeah.
Nobody had a clue that
we're getting it straight from the course.
I mean, that's how big the show is. We got people there.
We got live reports. We sent people to the PGA this week.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, let's close by talking about your family. Tell me about your wife and kids.
Been married since 1997, so we're going on 26 years. She's from Jackson, Mississippi. Hyde. She's from Jackson, Mississippi. Went to Ole Miss.
Is that where you met her?
I met her at Scott Harrison's wedding in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
So we've got 3 kids. I've got a daughter, Doxy, who just graduated from Dickinson. And she's currently looking for a job in D.C. She wants to work in D.C., so she was really kind of hoping to get a Fulbright, and that didn't work out for her. So now she's looking for, a job in D.C.
Fulbright's pretty rare air.
Yeah, she's a good student and hard worker. She was 2-time captain of her squash team there.
Oh, nice.
And they had a pretty good little squash team.
Yeah.
So she had a nice run of it.
What does she want to do?
She's a real busy person. She does a lot of stuff, so she's got a good resume. I don't know. I think she would like to get into. I think ultimately what she'd like to be is in the foreign service.
Okay.
But I think the best entree is probably to go into politics. Is my guess, and then kind of see where that lands you.
Does she know you as a politician? She
yeah.
remembers you as a politician, right?
Oh yeah. They all do.
Okay.
Yeah, this has only been 4 years ago.
Oh, gotcha.
That I got. They probably remember like yesterday when I got beat. Because I'm like, it is over. I mean, stick a fork in me. I am done. And then my middle daughter, Stewart, is 20. She just finished her sophomore year at Ole Miss. And so she's kind of following her mama's footsteps there. And she's done great. She loves it, and she's a great gal. She's doing advertising and marketing. That's what she's majoring in.
Yep.
So anyway, I talked to Mumford about her a little bit. And she's been working real hard. So she has fun too. I mean, it's a great school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my son, Little Manoli, just graduated from St. Christopher's.
Is that what people call him, Little Manoli?
Nah, I think they might call him Loop.
Okay. Like you?
Yeah.
Okay. When the 5 of you are together, what do you go by? Dad, and then he goes by?
Loopy.
Loopy?
Loop.
Okay.
Depending on how bad he's been. Manoli, I need to talk to you right now. That's when he's like, Uh-oh, here we go.
Where's he headed?
Sewanee.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
University of the South.
University of the South. He's fired up, ready to go. Says reminds him of camp.
I was going to say, Ole Miss is not close. Sewanee's not close. Where's Dickinson?
Carlisle, PA. It's about 4 hours away.
So closer than the other two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're used to being road warriors. It's fine.
Well, it's helping them be independent too, not being that close.
Yeah, and I mean, Sewanee is a beautiful school.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, so I think he'll have a good time.
I think they wear robes if your grades are good enough, right? You get to wear robes.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
My sister went there.
Maybe he'll get in a robe. Maybe he'll be like me and start doing better.
I assume that.
I'm not that he's doing badly. Don't get that wrong. He does a lot better than I did.
Sorry, little Manoli.
Yeah, no, he did a lot, but he does a lot better than me. But he, you can always get better. So
absolutely,
got to grind.
Well, and you're his dad, right? You want to see all three of your kids do well.
Absolutely.
26 years of marriage, man. It's not a minute. That's a long time. You guys are still rolling.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. I'm blessed.
Very cool. Well, Manoli, I thought of you because I was driving past your office. I'm like, I need to get Manoli on. Manoli will be a good time.
Okay. Well, I mean, I got to admit, I when I listened to the Tommy Doo interview, I thought that was awesome.
Tommy's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
Yeah.
So I hope that people will enjoy the podcast.
Cool. Thanks, man.
All right, man.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.